communication. Our last panelist is Rahul Khosla. He's the Regional Director and for Sales and Marketing with Pace PLC UK. He has long years of industry in the STB industry. He's a bachelor's and master's in computer science with an exec MBA from here at IMB. Before joining Pace, he worked with NXP and then later with Trident, managing the South APAC region. His interest lies on the hardware side and especially on set-top boxes. And this is an interesting perspective on the growth, convergence, and management of this media that's going to come through these set-top boxes, both for local innovation and also the need for integrating with the semiconductor industry. So Rahul, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening once again, everybody, and I understand that I'm the last member of the last panel. So I'll make sure that I keep up the interests of the audience and not spend too much time on the slides. Yeah, that's my promise. Although I don't know, I'm a marketing guy. If I start talking, I'll keep on talking, and please raise your hands, and I'll stop there. So I think I'll probably start with the question which Professor asked, the first question: how products developed for local markets address the global needs? And I think the answer, and please note the answer very clearly, is Mr. Narang. So I don't know how many of you are knowing this Mr. Narang, but if you know, please raise your hands. Okay, that's unfortunate. The thing is, I'll tell you, there is this guys on the other side of the room where the innovation awards are being, innovations are being recognized, and some of the guys have actually got prices for such products which have been created, from the scratch. And there is this Mr. Narang over there, who has a very little humble shop in a place called Jabalpur, and he has come out with a very nice innovation where, most of us, we get irritated when a beam of light falls in our eyes when we are driving a car. So he thought of this for himself, and he's devised a device for himself where actually if let's say a beam falls on each other, both the headlights go into kind of, a down mode, the dipper mode. So I think this is amazing. So if we have this kind of entrepreneurship from a shopkeeper in the country, I'm sure we are, R&D house, a big R&D house, having 60% of our revenue coming from services. I don't understand why we should fail to create such kind of products for India and not so less for the world. So I think we are definitely lacking there, and we'll touch upon some of those things. You see my, interest is stay invested. Now, I'm not going to talk about mutual funds, and I'm not going to talk about some of these financial products. It's for the audience which is in semiconductors here, sorry. So I think the interesting part which comes from here before I move on to this is, also the question which comes to our mind is, this is a cost-sensitive market. Most of the global leaders like us, we are also Pace, and most of us, we say, we shouldn't be investing in this country because, where is the revenue, where's the margin? You've got revenue, but there's no margin, right? It's a price-sensitive country, and those questions keep coming, and I think which is valid, which is fine. Now, is this market a price-sensitive? If that was the case, then not so many Mercedes-Benz would have been selling in a day. The biggest order, 100 cars sold in one day just for a family. I think this is amazing concepts. Some of more concepts, I think, which I'll start with is this one, getting straight on the set-top boxes. You would see Dish TV to add 10% HD connections, and this is going to increase the ARPUs, which is going to effectively drive the I would say costing size, a better costing, hopefully. On the set-top box space, again, Bharti becomes #1 operator in the world to touch first 5 million connections. Now, can you believe an operator is paying 32,000 rupees, which is almost like what? $1,000, little less than $800 per subscriber for watching a high-definition cricket match on the TV. Now, that is actually for future. So I think this is an investment for the future, which operators are doing. You know, me and you, we are going to pay only 100 rupees probably to watch this high definition match on the TV. And operators are shelling out 32,000 rupees per operator. And this is coming from the cost they are paying for subscribing to those high definition cricket channels, vis-a-vis how many consumers are going to be there for watching this cricket match on high definition. But investment is happening. Next one, you see in very interesting ABI research data, which says that 50% of set-top boxes would be deployed worldwide in 2013 and 15, between 2013 to 15 in South APAC region or in APAC region, where India is again probably 50 to 60% of the total demand out of this. Why? Obviously there are reasons, because Western world has already been kind of, you know, digitalized to an extent that probably the growth would be slow over there, which will eventually happen in India also, because obviously the growth trajectory will not be always this way. It will go this way and then kind of start stabilizing. So I think to answer this, what I said, whether we are price sensitive market, I think the answer is yes and no. People are paying for their cell phones. You see how the smartphones are selling in the market. It's amazing. It's just catching like fire. Now, obviously, the answer is also no, because there is big rural India where the buying capacity is low, yet they have desires. So we have to reach out to them, and that can happen through local innovation. And I'll come to the point where we'll discuss that, how geared up we are specifically when we talk about this industry. So I'll limit myself to this industry because I come from this industry. I've spent a few years in set-top box industry from semiconductors field itself, so I probably can empathize with some of the nuances and the problems we face in semiconductor industry there. Just flow outline to talk about how I'm going to flow into this presentation. Of course, we have opportunities. We all know these are motherhood statements. So just to pin them again, once again, so that, you know, we understand we're talking the same language. Some of the key growth parameters. Then there is a growth area, which is entertainment industry. I mean, entertainment has been part and parcel of our life in India. See the Bollywood. I mean, this is amazing. The revenues it makes, the profits it makes. And then the last, I would say, because we have an amazing audience here from semiconductors, it makes sense that I talk about support, what we need in the industry to gear up and to match up to the demand of the country and worldwide. So going to the first one, I think our nation, if you see 60% of the population is young, this is amazing. GDP growth rate 8.5% year on year going forward for next 4 to 6 years. And our purchasing power parity, if you see, we are actually ranked number 4 in the world, even though our GDP is probably 12. I mean, position in the GDP is about 12. So purchasing power parity is high with the money we earn. Now, spending trends are changing. If you see, young ones are coming forward and they've got, you know, salary comes later. First, the deductions of EMIs happen from our wallets. We get salaries later. Earlier, it was more savings, you know, when we used to see, you get your salary, you save, and whatever is left with you, you spend that money. This is not happening now. The attitude which I mentioned, sorry for my colleagues from out of the country, Meri Marzi is nothing but it says that this is what I want. I decide what I want. So don't tell me what I should be buying. So this attitude is coming more and more into young population, which is actually the driving or the growth factor in spendings actually, because 60% of the population is young, sorry. Now, electronics, we used to tell, I think about 3-4 years back, electronics is touching every part of life, indirectly at least, but now we are telling it's more so directly, and see the cell phone penetration. I mean, there are illiterate people, they can't read, and they now are able to send messages. Instead of yes, they write Y, instead of no, they write N. But they're using, you know, every part of technology is being used in cell phones. Middle class household incomes are increasing, as we know. You know, so largest English speaking community, that obviously helps to connect to the world easily, right? It's not the only advantage, of course, but it does help. And I think we are to the R&D house. We are a global R&D house with 60%, from where we are getting 60% of our GDP, which is services. Now, I think this, sorry for the blurred chart, but just to show you and to put a question here, if you see GDP pie has been growing from services from few years, from the time we started in 47 till now is about 60%. The question is, do we want to stay this way? Are we happy with growing our GDP with services as a country? I think this is a question to all of us, and most of us would agree that no, because then if another country's economy collapses, it's a direct impact on us. right? So China, for example, has been a big exporter, yet their consumption is so high that even if America was going through a difficult times, China could still continue to survive. So that's a question. Now, it's some of the growth drivers coming back on what helps us to achieve that growth in manufacturing, if we have to do so. And let me point this out very clearly that I think we as a country, and we all know we as a country are very weak in manufacturing. We talked about Nokia, we talked about these guys opening their shops here for manufacturing, but what's the support we have? We have all the ecosystem available here, but is it strong enough? I think that's the question we have to ask. Are we still able to make decisions here? And thanks to the entrepreneurship which is coming from some of the industry here, and I think there's a lot to learn from there. We sitting in corporates only think of one part of the world rather than looking at the whole spectrum. So I think I would urge over here to getting into details. I'm sure this is readable. I'm not going to say every part of it over here, but I think it is important that all of us from this industry come forward to work towards local ecosystem, to grow it, to make it more strong, because this is going to be giving us a sustainable growth. A growth of 8.5%, depending on a GDP coming from services, is not enough for us. It could take us somewhere, but not everywhere. I hope that we all understand this as soon as possible, and we start driving it as leaders. Yeah, so I think this is again another fact on where we are. I'm not going to take it here, but we know that people are buying LCDs. It's everywhere. I remember 1 year back when I was in, about 2 years back when I was in Europe, I was amazed to see there was no CRT TV, and there were only LCD TVs in the shop. And I told myself, my God, when I'm going to see this day in India? And trust me, it happened. It just happened with a blink of eye. Because earlier we used to go to these stores when we had to buy a refrigerator or a microwave oven or something like that. But now it's become a trend because these kind of shops have come in every mall. You visit there and you've got this kind of shop. So you end up seeing these things. So you certainly see that CRT TVs are kept somewhere behind the wall, which you don't see, and LCD TVs are on the front. People are spending money in buying LCD TVs. They are spending all the money they have. They store and save and buy that. There are EMI options available. So again over here, there is no spending issue. The issue is basically, do they want to spend in the right product they like? And in fact, where I come from, the industry where I come from, set-top box is a classical example, where people do not want to spend. Somebody who is spending ₹1 lakh for the TV is not willing to spend, let's say, 4,000 rupees for a set-top box, or a 3,000 or even 1,500 rupees Tata Sky box. How many of us are ready to spend that? We love because cable is free of cost coming to our houses. We love because the cable guy gives a free set-top box, whether it has loads of glitches. I'm sure most of you would face that, loads of glitches into that, but we love it because it's free. It costs nothing. If cable fellow charges 300 rupees instead of 200 rupees, you will end up at your door and fight with him. Now, let me tell you, if you do not know, the fact is that all the operators are actually selling set-top boxes at subsidized rates. They're bleeding. For your knowledge, 1,600 crores is the bleeding value for Tata Sky, for example, as one example. Right? These are the losses they are making. It's public. This kind of data is public in magazines. 11,000 crores for Dish TV, for example. So I think this is happening because the ARPUs are low. We guys are not paying that money to our fellows who are offering us these services. Now the question comes, if the end consumer, which is us, is not ready to pay something, where will the operator earn from? Obviously the pressure would come on us as OEMs who are the set-top box providers.